All right, so I've got the fender installed. Let me show you guys what I got going on. What I've done here is I've gone and made sure that I can get every bolt in my fender. So I got all three on the top. I got one, there it is, down in the door jamb. I got two on the bottom here. And there's another one in the back there. I haven't got it in yet, but there's one that goes right there. I'm actually going to put that in next. But what I've gone ahead and started doing is, with all the bolts in place, and I've actually had to kind of physically bend the quarter panel a little bit here and there to actually get the bolts to line up in place. But now that I've got all my bolts in, I'm able to wiggle and push and just try and like mold this quarter panel to fit. And I've got my gaps pretty close. If I get that bolt that goes in the fender right here, that's gonna hold this door body line, because it's actually pretty okay up here. So if I get that bolt in the corner panel down, or in the fender down there, that's gonna get that body line held. So what I've done is I've got just some random hammers, but technically these two are body hammers, and then this is just a pry bar. I guess all three of these are body hammers because that's a ball peen, but I actually really haven't been using that one. What I'm doing though is I'm reaching the handle of my hammer up in here and going between the wiring harness frame rail right there and the fender, because I had a lot of dents that were really down right here. They still are, but I used my pry bar, just kind of going like this and just trying to work those dents out. And then I used, where is it? I used this guy. This is a rubber mallet, because a rubber mallet's not going to leave heavy dent marks. It will, but a metal hammer, every time you use a metal hammer, it's going to leave a dent. So there was a lot of heavy dents going this way, going down into the fender. So I went from the inside and I knocked a lot of those out. And it ain't perfect. I'm getting close. However, there was so much clear coat chipping and paint chipping, so I started grabbing my DA and sanding all that off so I can get a better idea of what I'm looking at. It's getting better. It's nowhere near close, but I'm gonna hammer and dolly this as best I can. I need to weld this up. There's a, ouch, I just poked myself. There's a crack in the fender right there, so I'm gonna tack all that together, grind it up, and then I'll probably put my front bumper on to hold this portion of the fender so I know that it lines up proper. And then from there, like I said, I'll hammer and dolly the best I can, skim coat the whole thing with Bondo, block it in 80 grit, 120, 220, 320, and then hopefully from there it's ready for primer. So I've taken the fender off and straightened it out some more. I actually welded up the crack that was right here, and then there was a crack that was built up right here. So I got all that welded up, DA'd the fender some more. I'm really lucky. This portion of the fender here is pretty straight. I don't have to do nothing to that. Along with down here as well is pretty straight. So more or less my only issue is right here. I've already gone ahead and metal worked it to really try to get the fender back into shape the best I can. So I got a low spot right there where the weld is, where the fender kind of does a weird thing. But other than that, it's not looking too bad. So from here on out, well, next thing I need to do is I need to sand this with the grinder, get that smoothed out and DA that. And then I'm gonna hammer and dolly just a little bit more, and I'm gonna go ahead and lay some Bondo on there and block the fender out. So next thing, hopefully next time you see me, I'll be laying Bondo. All right, so I've gone ahead and made a big mess in my garage. I got that fender sanded all down. I got it over here, sitting on my little sawhorses. So here's that fender. Pretty happy with how it's turning out. This fender had a lot of damage, and apart from getting new fenders, I think this is as straight as I'm gonna get this fender. I've put about 2 days into it now, so let's look at this one now. This fender has a lot of issues as well. This fender's going to take even more time. So I'm not excited about it. As you can see, there's a lot of texture going on right here. These are all dents. Lots of hammering, and I don't know what the heck's going on there. Somebody fucked it all up. It's covered in spray paint or something that's chipping away, just falling apart. There's holes drilled right here, here, and here. I think those were those stupid drift clip quick tie bumper holders. But let's see, we have a crack here that goes through pretty good. We've got crack here that goes, I don't want to focus on my crack, but that crack's pretty good. And then I think there was one more. Where am I missing? Right here. So there's another crack right here. So I've got a crack here. I've got a big crack going on right here. And then I've got a crack here. So 3 cracks I gotta fix. Whole lot of texture. So pretty much what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna take a flat hammer. This is a body hammer, technically. I cut the back end off of it because it was a piece that I would never use. And then I've got a dolly. This dolly has a perfectly smooth flat surface, a nice gradual curved surface, some nice rough curves, very pointy curve, some, you know, pretty much any shape you could imagine is what this dolly has going for it. So I'm going to use this gentle, smooth curved side, and I'm going to put the dolly on the back side here of my damage. And I'm gonna tap, tap, tap with my hammer. And I'm gonna do a shitload of that until hopefully the panel looks somewhat straighter. So let's get to that. All right, I got my phone set up on a little tripod makeshift. I'm gonna try, like I said, I'm gonna use this curved side. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to strip all this paint off next. Get this bare metal right here so I can see a little better. So I've gone with a 4.5-inch grinder for this with a flappy wheel on it just because it really cuts the material off the fender really fast. I'm going very light, not to dig into the metal of the fender. Body panels are made out of really thin metal, so it'd be really easy to dig through or go too deep and make your metal weak. So more or less, I'm just scratching all the paint off, and the cool thing about this 80 grit flap wheel is it leaves nice deep scratches for our Bondo to adhere to. So I might take a wire wheel and clean off the rest of this so I can see a little better. From there, I'm gonna continue hammering and dollying until, because it's still very textured. You can't see it because the grinder marks, but I can feel it, it's very bad. So gonna go ahead and do some more cleanup on this, some hammer and dolly, and we'll see what it looks like. It's gonna be a lot of work. The wire wheel really isn't doing anything. The problem with the wire wheel is it generates a lot of heat, and if you push on the wire wheel, that heat will actually warp, dent, and just ruin your panel. So I was hoping it was gonna clean it up a little easier than that, but it didn't. But I'm just gonna go ahead and work on my hammer and dolly. I needed to strip it because the paint was chipping so bad and there was Bondo under here that hammering and dollying this panel wasn't actually working properly because I was just pinching the paint and the Bondo between the hammer and the panel. So this should give us a better result. it's working. So it's definitely not as pointy and mountainous as it was before. What's happening though, I think, is as I'm doing this, it's obviously gonna bow the metal this way, so it's actually stretching the metal. And what's happening is it feels like it's actually bumping out those places that I'm hammering and dollying. So what I'm just gonna do is I'm gonna continue hammering and dollying it kind of like in a circular motion, just around my heavy textured areas, just to try and level everything out. I might, it might end up being a little high or a little low, but that's okay. A little bit of body filler and it should look good. I've got a pretty good crease going on right here, and it's into my body line, which sucks, so we'll see if I can work that out. Okay, yes, so I've got a little bit of a low spot right here, but for the most part, this is somewhat smooth. It's like it's low here, and then, so it's low here, goes up, and it kind of does something like this. So it's not bad. It definitely doesn't have those pointy little mountains anymore. I'm gonna keep working right there. Don't drop your dolly. Oh, beautiful. That is looking really good. Okay, so I dropped it. It's okay. It didn't crease my dolly, but crease my concrete. It's feeling nice. Okay, so there's like a low spot crease right here. I'm using the curvature of the dolly this way with the curve of the panel. And I'm using the dolly kind of like a hammer. And I'm using my hand as the dolly to soften the blow. And I'm trying to punch that crease outwards. And it's okay if I punch it too far because I can hammer and dolly it back. The issue is I can't hammer and dolly it right now because it'll just even out how this dent is. So if I can push the dent out, I can hammer and dolly it back down maybe. Or maybe I'll get lucky and push it out into a relatively okay position, but we'll see. Yes. Okay, so that's a lot better. Still very low here, and there's a weird crease here in my body line. But if I hit right here, I think it's getting better. That's feeling very nice. So now it's just this part here. Oh yeah. Very nice. Very nice. Wow. Wow, this is working really well, you guys. So that low spot now is pretty much only confined to right here. Holy cow. I didn't have this much confidence on this Fender. I only put on the persona for the camera. I was really dreading doing this, and it's working out well. And so this is boosting my confidence. I'm excited. I'm going to keep hammering and dollying along this. I guess I'm just going to go in this kind of direction and try and work the panel into a more uniform curvature. And then I'll take my I'll take a longboard sander and I'll sand it, and I'll show you guys. The longboard sander with 46 grit will show you the highs and the lows because right now you can't see anything with the way that the panel looks. So let me go ahead and hammer and dolly this out, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, I'm gonna get my longboard sander. Hopefully before the phone dies, let me show you where I'm at. Oh boy. Okay, you should be able to somewhat see now how the pull this off. So now you can somewhat see how straight the fender is in comparison to what it was before. Okay, so my camera died a little bit there while I was talking about the other fender, but I've gone ahead and stripped the fender down using DA sander. This was this portion here that had all the damage. It's really hard to see on camera, but most of that damage is pretty gone. I very happy with how this fender's feeling. So now what I'm gonna go ahead and do is lay a thin skim coat of Bondo over the whole fender and let that harden, and it's all right. You know, it might look like a lot of Bondo, it might sound like a lot of Bondo, but we're gonna be sanding off 90% of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and lay a skim coat and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay. So I've got my Bondo palette. I'm gonna go ahead and mix up a little bit of Bondo, skim coat this whole entire panel. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with how my fenders came out. I got them over here, sitting on these dollies. Everything's pretty straight, feels pretty good. I got the hood. Started stripping on the hood, but I ran out of sandpaper, so for now, working on pulling the motor out. so that we can body work the engine bay. I'm gonna fix these intercooler holes that somebody cut out, put some metal back in, and we'll primer the engine bay, primer the hood and the fenders and the bumpers all in one go, and then hopefully everything's ready for color. We'll see. But for now, I'm about to yank this motor out, and we'll start stripping the engine bay down.